Men have turned dating into unpaid schmex work. This woman who's crying, you could see the tears if you look closely in her eyes. She's crying because she found out that a guy has just been using her for what's between her legs. And she's saying, men have done this. They've turned dating into us giving up our bodies to them, and we have no choice, apparently. This is the most ridiculous video I've seen in a while. Check this out.
What do you mean you're 32 and you want intimacy without commitment?
This is what I'm talking about when I say that men have turned the current dating culture into unpaid sex work for women. Because what do you mean? Yeah, what do you mean you want intimacy without relationship at 32 years old? It used to be back in yesterday that men who wanted to have sex, because that's what that means, right? We all know, we're not dumb here. It used to be back in, yesteryear that men who wanted intimacy without a relationship had to pay for it. You had to go find a prostitute. Okay, you had to pay for it.
And then what happened?
Because men have co-opted modern day women's sexual liberation, they've co-opted it and they've turned it into what's beneficial for them.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Which is essentially making women in the dating world unpaid prostitutes. And that is why I will never, ever, ever hear nothing about men saying that, oh, women just use men to get, paid to pay for dinner or whatever the they say. They're dumb. It goes in one ear and out the other. You know what I mean?
We're sure it does.
That's why I never listen to them. Because I know that you know, like I know that you know that I know that you have turned the modern day dating scene into unpaid sex work for women with situationships and hookup culture. And I'm not talking about women who, are only looking for casual sex. That's fine. But y'all know what I mean. We're not dumb here. We're not dumb around these parts. I don't have dumb people following me. I have dumb people looking at my videos. That's not what we're doing today. Okay? But this is what I'm talking about. Anyways, so no liberation under patriarchy, in case anyone was wondering.
So I want to be very clear when I say this. In case there are men out here who actually do believe what women like this are saying, understand that this is complete BS. I need you guys to really know that the majority of women today, when you run into them, they're not virgins. And they didn't end up there by being tricked into it. Modern women understand love being promiscuous. Most of them do. They have no interest in honing in their sexual liberation. They have no interest in that. Trust and believe, because when you grow up, you actually can fall for this stuff. You can think that, oh, women, they're all sweet. She's not like that. Like, she doesn't like that stuff. No, most of these chicks have been there once or twice. It's a bitter reality for a lot of young men because you're told, yeah, men are the only dogs out there. No, in the words of AMS, she's the dog, big dog. And notice how she tried to say, oh, the women who want casual sex, there's nothing wrong with that. And to the guys who are saying, well, if they love casual sex so much, why aren't they having it with me? That's a good question, which has many answers. But in this context, what she's talking about is the men who I open my legs up for and give sexual, consensual access to me. Because understand, they're not talking about being taken advantage of here, but that's what they want to make it seem like. And this desire, need to blur the lines and saying, I was manipulated, is just another way of avoiding accountability. But what she's saying is the men who I want don't want me, but they want my body. But they won't tell me that they just want my body. They lie to me. Well, we could have told you that. In fact, men have been telling you women that the men, because of your high standards, who are winning, get to feed you breadcrumbs like a clown until you realize that you are the fool. And by then you're invested. But it's not right. They shouldn't do that. Hey, people aren't always going to be open books. And it's up to you to decipher and say, is this guy with the yacht and the penthouse in Miami really want a single mom? I mean, he said that. But am I really, why should he have me? He says I'm special. He says I'm amazing. And he says I'm different. but I act and look like every single chick in his current rotation. I am of the belief that women need fathers or some type of a male influence to guide them through picking men because they just don't know how to pick them. No, ma'am, this is not men's fault. This is your fault for deciding to be a 304. If it's outside of the context of a guy actually taking advantage of you, then at this point, then the old guy with gray hair who has the young chick can sue her for manipulating him into that situation. Do you know that roughly 2 million people get married in the U.S. every single year? And out of those 2 million people who get married, 600,000 wish they had this. And what is this? It's a prenuptial agreement. No, a lot of people have never actually seen a prenup in real life. Now, to put that in perspective, we're talking about a football stadium packed with married people who regret not signing a prenup. A part of me does understand why so many future husbands make the mistake of not getting a prenuptial agreement, right? A lot of people think only rich people get prenups, and the process is often very complicated and expensive. In fact, when I got my prenup, I wish I had guidance on how to choose the right attorney, how to avoid costly mistakes, and also just how to walk into a conversation, a legal conversation, feeling confident. That's why I decided to create fathershaverights.com. If you need a prenup but don't know where to start, our step-by-step guide can help. Get the questions every future husband asks answered by expert attorney James Sexton and the lead attorney before you sign your prenup. At fathershaverights.com, we've simplified the entire process for just the cost of a couple of coffee dates. No need to just take my word for it. You can check out hundreds of reviews of husbands who've prepared for their prenups the right way. Don't wait. Timing is everything when it comes to prenups. Hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and access your prenup guide today, and you get 25% off. All right, guys, that's it. Let's get back into the video. So she goes on to respond to this comment that says, so it's fine when women look for casual sex, but not when men do it? Here she goes.
I've gotten this comment one too many times on my previous video because men are fucking stupid apparently. So it's fine when women look for casual sex, but not when men do it. Is that what that said? Is that what I said? No. Listening
basically
on. Okay? No, it's fine for either gender or all genders, whatever, I don't fucking know, to engage in casual sex or to want only casual sex. That's fine. What is not okay is to use the dating culture in which innocent people, women, are dating these men looking for a relationship, a long-term relationship. It's not okay to exploit that in order to only engage in casual sex. It's not okay to lead people into believing that you're looking for a relationship and then use it as means to exploit women for unpaid sex work. My friends, stay with us here. It's not a hard concept. The reality of the situation is that a lot of men, most men, who exploit the dating culture and the dating pool right now for unpaid sex work are not going in there being honest. They're not seeking out women who are only looking for casual hookups. No. They are duping innocent people into thinking that, oh, this might lead to a relationship, but they really just use it as a way just to hook up.
Sounds like, one, you want to get paid. She's looking back at her bodies and she's like, I should have gotten paid for this shit. Man, I put in some overtime. And two, stop getting duped, right? Start believing men. Show us the guy you're messing with, not us, because show somebody who you care about. Have somebody in your life who's not just trying to get in your pants. Every woman needs that, because these men who are taking advantage of women are going to exist. Why? Because all of you have decided that economic attraction is the number one thing. And so what happens? You have the Diddies of the world who are getting their way. Unfortunately, I think Diddy's a monster. I do. People may disagree and say, well, what did he do? And I don't care what he was proven not guilty of. The man has been monstrous. But again, that's the guy with the bread. These are the men who you open yourself up to when you decide character isn't as important if he can't pay all your bills, if you have to go 50-50 or 80-20.
If you want casual sex, you have a few options. Be honest about it. and understand that I would say a lot of women, especially after a certain age, are probably not interested in that. Not all women aren't, but I would say a lot of women who are like dating right now are not looking for casual hookups. They're going to be more honest about it than men are. And that's just the simple reality. Okay.
Don't skip over what she just said. Listen very closely. Especially after a certain age, are not interested in casual hookups anymore. And so all a man hears is, oh, so you've given up the cheeks. I mean, just senselessly given it up. And now, for the guy who wants the serious relationship, the guy who's going to put in most of the work, you want to make sure you get the ring before you give it up to him. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. How do I think that this should go? Well, as somebody who values Christian principles, identifies as a Christian, I believe in the Bible, I think that most men who identify like me, and even if they don't, right? They could not necessarily even believe in God. But most men want a woman who's as close to a virgin as possible. Men aren't sitting here waiting for virgins, right? That time is long gone. But they're looking for a woman who can maybe not have 40 plus bodies. Do you guys agree?
Are not looking for casual hookups. They're going to be more honest about it than men are. And that's just the simple reality. Okay. But you either are honest and upfront about that and understand that you need to look for women who are only interested in that type of situation, or you need to pay a prostitute. I'm sorry, friends. My point still stands. It used to be back in the day, if you wanted to engage in casual sex like that with no commitment, okay, intimacy without commitment, you had to pay for it. But men have been able to co-opt and exploit women's sexual liberation for their own gain. Okay? Everyone's saying, oh, it's feminism, that this. No, friends, it's men. It's the patriarchy.
If let's say I had a family female friend, right? Niece, maybe even a cousin, a female cousin. And she came up to me and said, I want some advice on something. I said, okay. And she said, I was dating this guy. And during our first date, he just looked me straight in the eyes and says, hey, I want to let you know that I don't intend to get involved in anything serious. I'm just looking for something fun. And she said, but I really like him, but he's not looking for anything serious. And I had to call the date off because I have to stick to my principles because I'm looking for a serious relationship. I would say, wow, what an honorable man. What an honorable man, and what a rare man. Because I would look her dead in the eyes and say, most men who want to sleep with you are not going to do that because they know that being honest won't work. And so that means that a lot of times you may have to see intentions and you may have to be realistic about, hey, is this man really want me? You have to be grounded. You have to drink coffee. But however, too many chicks fall for it. Way too many. And then they want to blame the men for falling for it. And when it comes to dating, it's a very complicated thing. So first, let me establish this. I don't think it's right for a man to say to a woman, I want to get married. I want to have kids. Yes, I'm going to marry you. Gives you the date. He feeds you that lie, gets the cheeks, and just disappears. I don't think that that's right. Now, have I been guilty of doing a version of that that's not as it's not as much of a bold-faced lie? Like, I've never told a chick I want to marry you just for the sake of smashing. But maybe didn't say that I was in a place where I was open to a serious relationship. And I liked her, and then eventually things just happened. Yeah. Most men out here who are dating know how to date and attract women. They will also tell you that you don't have to work too hard once these women have convinced themselves that you are the man for them. You've said the right things. They don't. They will believe they would text you and say, I know you're bad for me. And I don't know. I just feel like I'm going to get hurt. You should probably trust and believe that. I see a couple of red flags, but I don't know. I just really like you. You should probably not fall for that guy. He's probably not going to say, unless if he's somebody who's an exceptional man who has very principled values, is in a certain mature place in his life, he's probably not going to say, you know what, you should stand true to what you believe. I'm just going to tell you, probably not. That's just the truth. The reality is a lot of these chicks, they ignore those red flags. They know that man is toxic. These videos and this reaction of he used me and he lied to me comes out after they've finally faced the reality that they could have seen coming a mile away. Let's read a few comments. This video was ridiculous, and I'm sure these comments are going to be ridiculous as well. This female commenter says, by the way, dinner costs a small fraction of what SW costs. It's a bargain deal for them. So they're like, hey, go smash an escort because it actually costs less to go smash an escort. Here's the thing, though. A lot of guys are actually doing that more and more. I've seen guys actually say they're doing that. This lady says, yep, once a guy paid for my Starbucks drink and was furious that I wouldn't go home with him. LOL, $5 is way too cheap to feel entitled to someone's body. Here's somebody else that says, conservative men see women as private property. Liberal men see women as public property. Yo, this is actually pretty good. Conservative men see women as private property. Liberal men see women as public property. Wow, that's a bar. That's a bar. This person says, stop. This slapped too hard for it to be so evil. Here's someone else that says, it's a super famous old saying. Is it? Things never change, do they? Yeah, that's good. When it comes to, because the whole conversation around people should just pay for it, because people like say, oh, you pay either way, just pay for sex. There's a difference. There's a difference. And only somebody who's just been paying women to sleep with them can't truly understand the difference. The difference between the woman who wants to sleep with you, and that's like the validation that she's getting, and the woman who's sleeping with you because she's doing that from a transactional perspective. Yes, everything in life has a sense of transaction to it, especially relationships. But the overall motivation for a woman to sleep with you is much more enjoyable when she's not entirely motivated by your economic status. That's that. Somebody else who says, my ex is 39 and figuring out what he wants. Good luck to all his younger female coworkers. She wanted to settle down with him. He didn't want to, is all that I hear. Another person who says, Angie says there are specific sites for casual hookups, but men want women who are looking for a relationship because it's more of a challenge and they're perceived as higher quality women. So there's a lot of deception involved too. Again, it's about him knowing you want him too. That's what it is. That's why you have men who are 40-year-old virgins, but they never went and paid for it. It's because they want somebody who wants them. Somebody else who says, this is why I don't believe in shaming the girls who ask for money and things. This leads us to our last video right here. The problem here is when you say, okay, so that's wrong. You ask them, is this wrong, what I'm about to play? And they will typically tell you no. Just like the last comment that says, that's why I don't shame women for doing exactly this. Check it out.
Do me a favor, ladies, whenever you're using a man for his money, don't feel no remorse. The same way how they purposely get a woman's feelings attached just so they can have access to her body, don't feel no remorse. It's the same thing. And ladies, stop being scared to ask men for money because they not scared to ask for coochie. They not scared to ask for what they want. A man is quick to be like, oh, well, like, what's up? Can I get some? This is not. You know what you do? You show him your Cash App and you say, oh, my, it's kind of empty. You could give me some. You could show me some money. And then when they hit you with the, oh, I would, but I don't got Cash App. Say, oh, it's okay. I got Zelle. I got PayPal. I got Venmo. I have Apple Pay.
Hey guys, as always, I appreciate you for checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. To my currently engaged or soon to be married men, if you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link into the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.